Hello, you are most welcome. I'm teacher Ivan from Wuna Educational Services. In today's lesson, we shall be looking at A-Level Physics 1 calculations, and we are majorly looking at calculations in heat transfer. So that is what we are capitalizing on in today's lesson. Otherwise, before we look at calculations in heat transfer, I want us to look at how heat is transferred and what involves in each mean of heat transfer. Otherwise, there are three ways through which heat is transferred. That is conduction, radiation, and convection. Conduction mainly occurs in solids, both metallic and non-metallic solids. So, what do we need to know about conduction? One, we need to know the definition of conduction. Two, we need to know the mechanism of heat transfer by conduction. So, we shall start with the definition. Conduction is defined as the process of heat transfer through a substance from a region of high temperature to a region of low temperature without the bulk movement of the molecules. For instance, when we heat a nail, the heat will move from the point where the heat source is to the cooler end. But in the movement of the heat energy, the molecules of the nail do not move. Then the question is, what moves the heat? So the meaning of without bulk movement of molecules means that as heat is transferred, the molecules of the substance do not move. So, in solids, heat is transferred by two processes. That is, we have atomic vibration and by the free-moving electrons. We shall explain one by one. We shall start with the free-moving electrons. Free-moving electrons are found in metallic solids. And when the free-moving electrons or mobile electrons are heated, they drift from a point of high temperature to a point of low temperature. But as they move, they collide with the atoms in the solid lattice. So as they collide, they lose heat energy to these atoms. And by that, heat is transferred. However, still in the metallic solids, we also have heat transfer by atomic vibration, whereby the atoms at a point where heat is applied acquire heat energy and becomes their internal energy. So this energy that has been acquired increases their kinetic energy and they vibrate with maximum amplitude. But during the vibration, they will collide with the neighboring atoms, since we know that atoms in a solid are tightly packed together. So in the course of vibrating, they collide or knock the neighboring atoms, and they will give part of their heat energy to these atoms. And as the vibration continues, even those atoms that have gained the heat energy also acquire sufficient energy to cause them vibrate and collide with the adjacent atoms. So the process goes on like that, where atoms acquire heat energy and vibrate, collide with the neighboring atoms, and lose that heat energy to them. However, it is a slower process because these atoms first accumulate the heat energy before vibrating and colliding with the neighboring atoms. So those are the two processes by which heat is transferred in metals. In metals, heat is transferred by the free-moving electrons, which collide with the atoms as they drift from the hot region to the cooler region. In colliding with the atoms, they lose heat energy to these atoms. Whereas during atomic vibration, the heated atoms acquire sufficient heat energy and increases their kinetic energy, so they start vibrating. As they vibrate, they collide with the neighboring atoms and lose heat energy to them. The neighboring atoms also vibrate with sufficient energy and collide with the adjacent atoms and lose heat to them. So that way heat is transferred in metallic solids by both the free-moving electrons and atomic vibrations. Then, however much, we see that all metals have free-moving electrons, and they also have atoms that vibrate. But metals have different rates of heat transfer. What causes this difference in the rates of heat transfer? That will be in our next part under thermoconductivity. We shall get to know why do metals conduct heat at different rates, yet they have the same mechanisms. Otherwise, I've been teacher Ivan from Wuna Educational Services. I hope to have you in our next lesson. Please follow our pages on all social media apps. Subscribe to our YouTube channels so that we learn together as we enjoy together. Bye-bye.